Hello and welcome to JRS Pilates. My name's Jane and it's good to be back. Today we're going to be focusing very much on improving posture. Okay, so strengthening the muscles around the waist, the transverse abdominis, that kind of lifts the rib cage away from the hip bones. Okay, so that's something that you can habitually do and it won't feel like any effort once we build up the muscles here. It's building up the muscles in the back of the shoulders as well, which tend to get a bit weak as we tense and tighten into these muscles more, and that creates that rounded shoulder, and especially if we go into the trapezius as well and use these muscles. So we're going to just stretch out the front of the shoulders, we're going to strengthen the back of the shoulders. Okay, we're going to work the neck flexor so that our chin stays parallel to the floor rather than dropping. Okay, and lats, rhomboids, the muscles in between the shoulder blades, all the key muscles that we do work in Pilates as well as the glutes, just to keep everything a lot more strong and upright. Okay, so we'll start off today just by rolling the shoulders forward and up and back and down. And remember, if you've done many of my other classes before, then you know that you breathe into the nose, you breathe out to the mouth, and we breathe into the rib cage. Now let's do that one more time. Forward up and squeeze the blades back and down into that soft V. And let's go the other direction. We go back, squeeze the blades together, bring them up to the neck, forward and then down. Yeah, so we're opening the chest and then we're opening the upper back. We're thinking about the shoulder blades, squeeze them together and then open them. And let's do that one more time. Back, up, forward and down. Nice. And just be aware of sitting on the sit bones and relax. Option, take the knees out in front of you, the legs out in front of you if you need to, okay? Now we're going to focus on the neck now. I just want to mobilize through that neck joint. We're going to look over our right shoulder, keeping that left shoulder completely still. And slowly come back to the center. And let's go over to the other side. And you're trying to take your eye gaze a little bit further over without going into the shoulders. And slowly back. Let's take the right ear now to the right shoulder, driving down that left shoulder in opposition. And back. So the shoulders aren't rising, it's the ear dropping to the shoulder. And come back. Now let's bring the chin to the chest. We're going to squeeze the throat muscle, the neck flexor. And at the same time here, look as high as you can up your chest and draw your shoulder blades down into that soft V in the base of the spine. Get a beautiful stretch in the back of the neck. Now slowly re-gaze back to the center and come up to the ceiling now. Now, any issues with your cervical spine, look forward and just tilt slightly. Otherwise, we look up to make it more intense and we jut the chin to the sky. Stretch that neck, flexing now the throat, and strengthening the back of the neck, the extensor, and come back to the center. And the neck should feel a little bit weird, perhaps a little bit longer, and that's what we want to achieve. All right, now we're just going to place our two fingers on our chin, and we're just going to imagine that we're pushing a book back into the bookcase. So we don't drop the chin, we don't go up or down, we just take it back. There's no movement here. It's simply pushing the book back into the bookcase. At the same time, the crown of the head is lengthening up to the ceiling. And release. So you get a feeling in the back of the neck, so strengthening in that extensor. Let's do that one more time. So ideally, the ear is in line with your shoulder rather than coming forward. So I have quite a bit of forward head posture, always have done. So it's a case of just working at this, trying to get the ear in line with the shoulder, pushing the book back into the bookcase, and lengthening the crown of the head to the ceiling. And release. Let's give your head a little shake out if you need to. Okay, now we're going to just come into some work here on just opening up the chest. I want you to bring your arms out in front of you. We're going to inhale and keep the elbows in. We're going to take the arms out, the hands out to the side, but keep the elbows in. Can't go that far. And look up now at the ceiling and lift up through your spine. Pull your belly in. Now keep in this position as you extend the arms. Palms wide, palms to the ceiling. Now bend the elbows, bring them back into the rib cage, and slowly bring the gaze back to the center with the hands. Breathing in, breathing out, look up with your belly slightly in here and lengthen the spine extension. Lengthen the arms out on your inhale, palms wide, and exhale, elbows in, gaze to the center and back. Inhale, extend the arms, palms wide. Draw the shoulder blades into that soft V. Bring the elbows in, restore the gaze to the center and back. Let's do that 3 more times. Lengthen, pull your belly in. Inhale, extend, shoulders back down. Bring the gaze back to the center, bring the elbows in and restore. Let's do that 1 more time. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, gently down the spine. Look up now. You should feel this in the upper back. You should feel an awful lot of tingling going on here. It's quite intense. And back to the center. And just look over, yes, your right shoulder. Drop the shoulders down. And come slowly back to the center. Let's go over to the other side. And come back to the center. Well done. Now we're going to bring the legs out in front of us now. So if you can, just bend the knees to begin with and pull the belly button in, because that's going to lift the rib cage away from the hip bones, and we're going to draw those shoulder blades into that soft V, into the base of the spine. Yeah, we're going to bring the arms out in front of us, and I want you just to inhale and reach your fingertips forward and round the upper back. So you're going to open the blades. Now this is kind of what we feel comfortable with. I want you to now draw your shoulder blades together gently and draw them into that soft V in the base of the spine. The shoulders come back to the center, but the length remains in the arms. So we breathe in, open the blades. Exhale, squeeze the blades gently together and down the spine. And you'll feel the muscles in between your shoulder blades working here, the rhomboids. They're often very neglected. Yeah, we let them just relax and let go. And let's work them now, because this is really important. When you draw the shoulder blades together and down the spine, the shoulders drop away from the ears, and we've got that great posture. Yeah. The belly slightly pulled in towards the spine here as we breathe into the rib cage. Now on your next inhale, I want you to take your right arm up to the ceiling. Exhale out and through. And do the same with the left. Now keep your shoulder down by elevating from here out to the side and through, yeah, and repeat. So the lat muscles underneath your shoulder, your armpits, are the muscles that elevate the arm. It comes up to the outer armpit, and then we squeeze it on the way through. 2 more on each side. Nice and relaxed. Option here, if it's painful on the shoulder, just put your hand on the shoulder, yeah. You can always just do this. If there's a lot of tension there, we've got a problem with that shoulder joint, okay? And we're just going to place the hands down for a moment. Just be aware of the 5-pound note in the shoulder blades, the belly slightly pulled in. So this is actually quite an effort just to sort of work these muscles in this without doing anything, yeah? Now let's see if we can extend the legs now. Stretch out the hamstrings now, and we're driving the heels actively away. Now if it's too much, just bend the knees for me. But we've got to lengthen through the spine. Okay, and just be aware of keeping that 5-pound note in the blades. So let's do those circles again. This time we're going to do 2 on each side, breathing in, breathing out, but try and maintain the length in your spine. We don't want to slouch. So we're trying to think of many things here. Belly in slightly, and lift up that arm with your lat muscle, not the shoulders, neck and shoulders. Now we're going to go out to the side now. Now don't over yank it here without thought. We go back and we feel the back of the shoulder working, and we stretch the chest. Other sides, we go back for 2, 1, and center. 2, 1, and center. So keep the belly slightly in, keep the 5-pound note in between those shoulder blades, and just feel the strength in the back of the shoulders. There should be control here. Don't let it fling back without thought, because we don't want to injure yourself. But just be aware of the upper back strengthening as you go back and in. Let's do 1 more this side. And now we're going to come into spine stretch. We round the spine, we come over the beach ball, and we're going to open those blades up now. Now remember that if you've done many of my classes before, you'll know that we don't do this, we don't tense the neck and the shoulders. It's not about the fingers, it's about the crown of the head catching up to the fingers. So we pull the shoulders back, And we allow the back of the neck to be long and relaxed. But the arms are working. You know, the arms have to work, they don't drop. We've got to keep them working. Now we pull the belly back, we're breathing into the rib cage here, so the belly and the hips and the shoulders go backwards, but the crown of the head and the heels drive forward. Capital C shape with the spine. Now let's inhale to restack. L shape with the spine. Now on your next exhale, we're going to tuck the tailbone underneath your bottom. We're going to bring the ribs down towards the hip bones, and you're going to go down to a point of tension. Keep the legs strong, and on your exhale, we're going to round over the beach ball and come back to our capital C. Now stay low this time and tuck the tail under. Now try and open the chest as you come down, but keep the lower back rounded by pulling your belly in. So don't go too far back if you feel it going to your lower back. It should not be lower back. As you exhale, bring your ribs to your hips. Pull your belly in, you lift up your pelvic floor, keep the chest open, the shoulders down, exhale up and over. The lower back must be rounded. Each time getting a little bit lower to those legs. Let's do 2 more. Chest open, but the lower back rounded. Rib to hip compression, up and over. And let's do that one more time. Breathing in. Open the chest slightly, but keep the lower back rounded by pulling the belly in. Ribs to hips, the pelvic floor lifting up and over into your spine stretch. Now let's bend the knees for a moment. We're going to put the hands behind the head. Elbows wide in peripheral vision. I want you, actually take those a bit lower, yes. We're going to exhale over to your left. And I want you to drop your right knee to your right elbow to your right knee. Feel the stretch down the left and compress and contract the right rib to hip connection. You restore the spine with the abs. Come back to the center. We go over to your right using the left waist, and we drop the left elbow to the left knee. Inhale, restore with the abs. Pull back to the center. Over to your left using your right waist. Squeeze at the waist. Drop the elbow to the knee. Now we're not bringing the elbows in here. Restore with the abs. The shoulders are staying down. Pull back with the abs. So we rotate with the waist. The elbows aren't coming in. And we drop. Squeeze that left rib to hip connection. Open the right rib to hip. Pull back to the center and rotate round. Let's do that one more time. On each side. The elbows are staying wide. So you're imagining the back of the elbows and the arms against the back wall. So when you come back here, keep that back wall, the arms in contact with it, yeah? Squeeze, left rib to hip. Pull back and back to the center. Well done. So you should feel a little bit of strengthening going on one side and stretching on the other, but the shoulders were relaxed. And we were keeping ourselves very open there. Now, let's extend the legs. An option here, keep the legs bent if you're feeling the kicking going on here, tightness there. And we're going to do the roll down again to 3/4 and bring in some arm movement, okay? So don't go down too low on the first one, yeah? You can always go that low if you need to, yeah? So on your exhale, we're going to tuck the tail under. Bring your ribs to your hips, go down to a point of tension. Keep breathing. We're going to do 8 breaths. So on your inhale, the right arm goes up, elevating from your lats. You exhale back down with squeezing those lats. Other side. Now you can bend the knees if you need to. Keep the lower back rounded by pulling the belly in, but keep the chest open. Draw those blades into that soft V. Yeah, and you do 2 more on each side. You can bend the elbows, yeah, if that's, yeah. Otherwise, you straighten them. That's far more challenging, but you've got to keep the shoulders down. Let's do 1 more on each side, breathing in or breathing out. 1 breath, 1 movement. Now keep that lower back rounded, pull the belly in, otherwise you're going to feel it in the back. Now we breathe into the rib cage. We exhale, we round that lower back by coming up and over the beach ball. Stretching the upper back and the lower back and your hamstrings here, yeah. Now let's restore. Now if that was too much and you felt it in your lower back, bend the knees, and you can always go down here for me and just keep 1 hand on your leg, yeah, and do 4 on one side and 4 on the other. Otherwise, Let's straighten those legs, find the L shape with the body, the figure L, or the letter L. Now, shoulders back into those back pockets, belly in to elevate the spine. Now we're going to exhale, tuck the tail under, bring the ribs down to the hips. We're going to inhale, take right arm out to the side this time. The left arm doesn't move. Now pull back with your abs and your lats. So I want you to pull from here and here to come back. The chest stays open, but the lower back is rounded. So pull that belly in and squeeze your glutes. Yeah, lift up the pelvic floor. Just 30%, 40%. We don't want to over tense. Yeah, we don't want to take it into the spine. Breathing into the rib cage. Now don't take the arms out too far if you feel your lower back working. Yeah? It's got to be abs, rib to hip connection. The chest stays open. We're rounding the lower back. Breathing into the rib cage. Exhale, round, up and over into our spine stretch. Back of the neck is nice and long. And if you want to, place the hands down, place them on the floor. It's the crown of the head to the toes. It's the most important thing. We just bring our arms out to work the arms and to relax here. Yeah? Now, let's put those two moves together. The double leg stretch arm in that position. So option, bend the knees and do what? 4 on one side and 4 on the other. Yeah, especially if you're new to Pilates or wanting an easy workout today. But be mindful and concentrate on the muscles that should be working. 5-pound note in your blades. Lengthen through the spine by pulling your belly slightly in. Ear in line with shoulders. Exhale, let's tuck that tail under. Bring the ribs down towards the hip bones. Lift up the pelvic floor. Inhale, right arm, out and in. You can do 3 more on that side if you prefer. Otherwise, let's alternate. Now, you're trying to get the bigger circle without the lower back popping. It's got to be that rib to hip connection here. The ribs pulling down to the hip bones. And we're breathing into our rib cage, so the lower back is rounded. Visualize a rounded lower back by pulling your belly button in. Let's do 1 more on each side. Now, you can either come up after this one, otherwise 2 doubles. Breathing in, breathing out. Now try and keep that belly in here, squeeze your glutes. Inhale, round that lower back, stretch. From the crown to the heels, we're stretching, and the belly and hips are pulling backwards to create the stretch in the lower back. And push those knees down to get more stretch in the hamstrings. Flex the heels towards you. And let's restart. Well done. Let's come onto our fronts now. Now, doing some upper body now. So we're going to bring our wrists under our shoulders and our knees under our hips. To start off with, we'll just do the cat and the cow because we've just put the back into a little bit of tension there. So ideally it was the abdominals, but sometimes you can feel tension in the upper back, the neck and shoulders. So we're just going to rock the hips from side to side, making sure the wrists are underneath the shoulders, and you can bring a little bit of external rotation so that the elbow joint is facing forward, but the fingers are facing forward. So we're working to the back of the shoulder just by, instead of bringing the elbows in, we're taking them slightly out. The hands can go a little bit wider, the fingers can be nice and wide. And so you'll feel the back of the shoulders working here just by that little centimetre or 2 of the elbow socket coming round. Yeah? Fingers facing forward. Now, on our exhale, we're going to tuck the tailbone underneath the bottom. We're going to pull the belly in, and we're going to round the spine as much as we can by pushing the shoulders away from the hands, the chin to the chest, the nose to the belly. Tucking the tail under here, breathing into the rib cage, and stretch the spine from the crown to the tail. Now, on your next inhale, you're going to flick the tailbone up to the ceiling. Dip the lower spine now, squeeze the blades together and down the spine and look up, cow pose. And in this position, I want you to push your chest forward, your shoulders back, and you lift your bum a bit higher. Back extension. Now on your exhale, we tuck the tail under again. We round that lower back in particular by pulling the belly in a lot. Upper back, neck. Nose to belly, rib to hip. Imagine a train going through the tunnel, which is in between your arms and legs.
Can you elevate a bit more? Open the blades. Back of the neck is long as we push the shoulders away from the ears here. Inhale, flip the tail up, dip the lower spine, squeeze the blades back and look up.
So if you've got a bad back, you're going to be a little bit careful in spine extension that you don't over tense here, because you don't want to compress the nerve, the discs. You don't want to create any sort of like impingement. So don't overdo this spine extension, but it is very good for the spine to articulate like this. So when we round, yeah, we get a beautiful opening up of the lower back. The synovial fluid is being released. Pull the shoulders away from the ears, the head just drops out of the socket. And let's come back to neutral spine in between those 2 points. Now, we're going to keep the toes on the floor. The knees are underneath the hips, the legs are hip distance, and the hands can be a little bit wider here. I want you to use your lat muscles and pull your belly in a little bit more now. As you lift the knees 1 millimeter off the floor, but keep the upper back completely straight. And release. So what we don't want to do is do this, yeah, because we're taking it into the wrong muscles. Nothing's moving here. We're just lifting the knees 1 millimeter off the floor. And now you can always do one knee at a time. Let's do that one more time and see if we can hold the position. Looking slightly ahead of the hands. And we can carry on breathing here for a couple of breaths. Shoulders away from ears. Crown driving away from the tail. And release. Let's take the knees wide, the toes together, and come into our child's pose. Let the crown of the head drive forwards. We don't want to tuck the chin in here. We're trying to find length in the spine. We're trying to sink the armpits a bit lower into the mat. And the heels, sorry, the bottom into the heels. And then let's pull the belly in. We're going to tuck the tail under. We're going to round the spine until our shoulders come over our wrists, and then we flip back to our neutral spine, which is a little curve in the lower back, but not a deep one. So we're going to come into the row. Yeah, great for posture, great for building the muscles in the back of the upper back, and stretching out the chest. Yeah, it's a different movement to what we normally do. Yeah, we normally go forward as opposed to back. Now, you can always keep the knees underneath your hips if you prefer, but you're not going to get the same benefit as if you take the knees a couple of inches further back, away from the hip line. Now, the shoulders must not come back. The shoulders must stay over your wrists. Yeah, relax the toes. Now, pull your belly in and breathe into your rib cage. Bring the hands a bit closer together. They need to be closer together, but keep drawing those shoulder blades into that soft V. We're going to exhale as we drive one elbow up to the ceiling and bring it down. Now you've got to keep those abs in and keep the hips facing down. We don't want to rotate the body here. We don't want to twist to the side. So keep that, bring the hands a bit closer together if you need to. We're driving the elbow up and the hand on the hip. So we don't want to bring the hand too high up. Take it here, and you'll squeeze the blades and you'll feel the muscle in between the shoulder blades. The lat muscle on your opposite side is having to work as well, and the back of the neck is nice and long. Last one on this side, and just bring yourself up for a moment and give your wrist a little rotation. So we want to lift up with our lats and our abdominals here rather than sinking the body into your wrists. Now, you can either repeat that and do 5 on each side, otherwise we're going to try the full plank position, where we can engage the glutes and the hamstrings, the abdominals and everything, yeah? So this is what you're gearing towards if you can't do it today. Please practice this. It's a very good exercise. We're going to take the right leg back, and I want you to just be aware of driving the heel into the back wall, yeah? So you're trying to keep the legs straight and squeeze your glutes, and your hamstrings will fire. Everything's firing now on that right side. Now, wrists are underneath the shoulders. The hands can be a bit wider if you prefer. Actually, no, bring them closer together. They need to be close together on this one. And take the legs wider. So the legs can be as wide as the mat, with the hands close together. So you're trying to create a triangle. Now, let's go again. Now, we keep the hips facing down. Pull the belly in. You exhale. You inhale, looking slightly ahead of the hands for cervical alignment. Pull the belly button in. We'll do 2 more on each side. And try and keep those hips still. Yeah, that's the challenge.
One more. Now keep your shoulders away from the ears. Other side. I've got one more, I think, on this side. Yeah, one more. And bring those knees down. Come back to your child's pose. Well done. The row. And if you want to here, we're just going to round through the spine. We're just going to come into thread the needle. Just to feel a little bit of opening up in that upper back now. So I'm going to take your right arm up to the ceiling. Stacking over the left if you can. Option, bend the elbow. And take it through the needle. Drop the head, drop the shoulders, and try and get the back of that shoulder on the floor. And we're just feeling the stretch here in the back of the shoulder. So if you're not feeling anything, see if you can go a bit further round. Or take the bottom a little bit lower, and you'll feel the stretch in the upper back on that side, the rotator cuff muscle area. Yeah, and often they can get very tight or weak. So we have to keep the balance. Now pull your belly in to re-stack the spine, wrists under shoulders, shoulders away from ears, left arm. Option, bend the elbow and they stay here looking up, otherwise extend, look up, shoulders away from the ears, push into the right hand, and exhale through, drop the head, drop the shoulders, let it go, allow the ground to come to collect you. And let's slowly come back. Well done. So we're going to go all the way to the floor this time. So let's lie on our fronts, pull the belly in, and we're going to just take the legs wide. We're going to take them a little bit wide, well, wide of the mat. So the knees are on the far edges of the mat. And bring the heels together. Bring the heels together. And I want you to squeeze your heels together. Tuck your tailbone underneath your bottom. So your pubic bone and hip bones are driving downwards, but lift the belly slightly, yeah? And you'll feel the glutes firing, popping up the bottom, yeah? And you're pushing the heels together and flex the heels on those feet, yeah? Flex the heels so the soles of the feet are going up to the sky. And then that way the hamstrings will also fire here, yeah? And the glutes. Put your hands on your glutes, you'll feel them firing. Especially if the knees are wide, wide. And try and get the hips on the mat. So we're getting a beautiful stretch here in the quads and the hip flexors. Strengthening the glutes in our position. Relax the neck and shoulders. And there's no movement now, but I want you to think about lifting the knees and heels up as the hips are driving down. So if you feel this in your lower back, you're focusing on going too high. Just focus on tucking the tail under, pulling the belly in, and lifting the heels up and the knees up, yeah? Don't think about it, there's no movement, it's a feeling. And let's do 4 more, and 3, and 2, and 1. Now, we're going to take the palms wide. Look to the side where you're looking at me at the screen. I want to make sure the knees are staying wide as the mat, the heels together. Now the side you're looking at, okay, looking at that heel that you can touch, yeah, the side you're looking at, that's the side closest to you. You're going to push that heel into the other heel. And when you push that heel into your other heel, you're going to pull your belly in and you're going to see if you can lift that knee off the floor, lifting that heel up, that knee up to the ceiling. Lift the knee a bit higher. Now slowly peel down with control. Keep the knees wide, heels together. Look to the other side now. And that heel is going to push into your other heel. Lifting up the knee as high as you can. Keeping the heels together. And come back. We'll do that 1 more on each side. Too much? Just stay here for me and tuck the tail under. Yeah? Lifting the belly. And we're just going to get a beautiful stretch in the hips and the quads. Strengthening the bottom. And back. Look over to the other side before you go. Squeeze. Now you've got to push the heel into the other heel. Pull the belly in. And come back. Well done. Now, we're going to place our hands under our forehead. Legs are hip distance now. Now the glutes are nicely fired there. I want you to drive your right leg away, keeping your tail tucked and your belly slightly pulled in. and release on your inhale. So you lengthen. I want the back of the knee to be straight. So that means being the leg on the floor, that's fine. So the hip is stretching and the glutes are firing. If you bend the knee, then you're going to go into different muscles and joints completely. We go into the knee instead. It's got to be from the hip line. And release, and the left. So yeah, let's do one more on each side. Pull the belly in, keep the tail tight, relax the neck and shoulders. Now let's see if you can do both legs. Squeeze your glutes hard here now, pull the belly in, tuck the tail under, relax the neck and shoulders. The shoulders are pulling away from the ears, and release. Do that one more time. And release. Now let's take the hands to the sides. Palms wide, hands on the floor and in line with the ears, and the hands are coming off the mat, they're quite wide. Now I want you to imagine that suitcase handle in between your shoulder blades, yeah? And you're going to pick up the suitcase with that handle in between your shoulder blades. Push the hands into the floor, and it can be on your inhale this time. Pull your belly in, tuck the tail under, and push the hands down and drive the chest forward, but keep that 5-pound note in the blades, shoulders away from the ears, and slowly release. Inhale, push into the hands, shoulders down, pick up the suitcase handle in between the blades. We're looking forward, and release. Let's do that 2 more times. Now, my hands are quite wide because I'm working the back of my shoulders. You can always bring the hands further in and you'll work a different muscle in the back. Yeah, I'm going to feel it more now in my lats if I bring my hands in, and you can get more height. It's entirely up to you, but if to work the back of the shoulders, keep the hands wide. Yeah, and so the back of the shoulders are working here as well as the lats. And you can stay up this time and just look from left to right. So the neck and shoulders are relaxed. One more on each side. And slowly come back down. And just place your hands under your forehead and just give your hips a little shake from side to side. Now let's bring ourselves up and we're going to come onto our fronts. Now, might need a little time here because we've gone into back extension there, so the back might be a little bit tight. So if you prefer, just take a moment here to do whatever feels comfortable. So if that means just rounding the spine, allowing yourself to do that. And if you find the spine stretch hard, just with your legs extended, just drive one leg out here while you're keeping the other leg bent. Just be aware of flexing the heel and stretching the back of that leg. Yeah? And then you can just switch. Flexing the heel. And then you can see if you do both. Yeah? Belly in. Now bring the arms into play. The arms are having to work now, but the shoulders are relaxed, away from the ears. Crown of head forward, chest to thigh. Pull the belly and hips back. Now let's really stack the spine. We're going to go all the way to the floor this time. On your exhale, tuck the tail under, bring the ribs to the hips. Slow it down. Open the chest a little bit now. Draw the blades back into that soft V. Allow the lower back to round first. Then the middle. Then the upper back. Well done. And take a full body stretch here. You can take the palms wide, yeah? So you can get a stretch in the chest. And let's bring those arms down by your sides. We're going to bring the legs up now. And I want you to bring your legs up to tabletop. Knee over hip, shin parallel to the floor. Let's bring the left leg up. Now, make sure that the knees aren't coming in here. So all you're working is the hip flexors. You want to keep them over your hips. Put your hands on your lower abdominals and you'll feel it working here. This is the transverse abdominis. Yeah, this is that muscle that will keep you lifting up. So that's the muscle that we're working here to begin with. Now, the basics. I love the basics. You work hard with the basics, yeah? You just tap the right toe to the floor. You keep the left knee completely still. Now use the abs to pull that leg back to the center and repeat on the left. The right leg doesn't move. Pull in. Now to make it more challenging, take the leg a bit further away from the bottom. But don't pop that lower back. Remember, the lower back is lengthened. It's not squeezing into the floor. It's not compressing hard. But you want to hold a grape between the lower back and the floor. So you don't want to crush it. You just want to hold it there. So the other knee doesn't move. Now, what we're doing here is we're training your brain to use your transverse abdominis rather than your hip flexors. If you start bringing this leg in, the hip flexors are doing the work, the lower abs are gone. So make sure, don't see this as an easy exercise, it's not. Yeah, you're really training the brain. Yeah. Now, you can either stay here, otherwise we're going to try both toes. Drop both. Now keep them close to the bottom to begin with. Pull the belly in to restack. Now you've got to keep that lower back lengthened. Bring the ribs and hips closer together. Rib and hip, relax the neck and shoulders and pull in. So you will tense the neck and shoulders if that's what you're used to doing. And so this is where we train the body. Easy exercises to get wrong, difficult exercises to get right. Rib to hip. My lower abs are firing. Put your hands here, you'll feel it. Option now, extend the legs, makes it a little bit easier. Yeah? Extend. Now, I want you to place your arms now up to the ceiling and take them over your head. And we relax the neck and shoulders. I want the shoulders down and open up the chest. Take the arms wide if you need to. Now, make sure those knees are over the hips. Let's tap the toe to the floor and pull back in. It's a lot harder now. The abdominals are having to work really hard now. So a couple more, one on either side. So option, bring the arms down by the side of you for your lower back popping. Rib to hip. Let's try both legs. Now keep the toes close to the bottom. Pull in. Let's do one more of those. Rib to hip. Now let's take one leg out to the side, out at an angle. Pull back in. Now we know that the lower the leg goes, the more challenging on the lower abdominals. The higher that leg goes, like this, the easier. Yeah? But I want that lower back in the floor. Now let's see if we can take both legs out at an angle. Now use your abs to pull those legs back into the center. Rib to hip gets closer together. Those ribs pull down to the hip bones. Let's do two more. Thigh muscles are strong. And bring your knees into your chest and do some circle rolls. So this is going to build up your transverse abdominis. More important, it's improving your connection, your pathways about what's meant to be working. If you did this every day, the body would soon get used to working the abdominals instead of your hip flexors, and you'll naturally find that those muscles will keep your upper body, your body more upright, yeah, the ribs away from the hips. Make sure you do both directions with these circles. Lower back in the floor here. Now, let's bring the neck flexor into play and the rectus abdominis, the six-pack muscles. To start off with, we're going to keep the head and shoulders, the legs on the floor. Hands behind the head. Exhale, chin to chest, collect the piece of fruit, hold it there. Bring your ribs down to your hip bones. Place the hands under your hamstrings, lift a bit higher. Now bring your arms out, shoulders away from the ears. Keep that 5-pound note in the blades. Exhale, round for one. Let's do one more. Breathing in, breathing out. Hands under the hamstrings, lift a bit higher, keep the chest open and lower to the floor. Exhale, let's come up again. Chin to chest, rib to hip. Hands under the hamstrings, lift a bit higher. Now, let's stay there with the chest. Now, option, do this for me, yeah? Otherwise, we're doing 3 circles this time. 1, squeeze the throat muscle gently, looking at the tops of the knees rather than the ceiling. 3, hands under the hamstrings and lower. Hands behind the head. Exhale, chin to chest, rib to hip. Hands under the hamstrings, lift a bit higher and stay there now. 4, breathing in, breathing out. Pull that belly in, bring your ribs to your hips, lift your pelvic floor. 2 more. And 1 more. Hands behind the legs. And down we come. Let's do 5. Chin to chest, ribs to hip. Hands under the hamstrings, now lift up. Now stay here with the chest. The chest is lifting up, squeeze your throat gently. 5, 1. Lift up your pelvic floor. 2, smile. 3, 2 more. Imagine a ball in between your legs, you're squeezing it. And 5, and hands under the hamstrings, lift up, and down we come. Should we try 6? Let's do 6 today. Come on, we can do it. Chin to chest, rib to hip. This is painful, yeah? This is hard. Upper abdominal squeeze your throat muscle. Inhale, exhale. Option 3 on one arm, 3 on the other, with the other hand behind the head. But squeeze your throat muscle gently. Imagine that ball in between your legs. We've got 2 more breaths. Lift a bit higher with your chest and make it far more challenging. Last one, hands under the hammies, and down we come. And let's just take the arms out to the side and just stretch over to one side. Relax the neck and shoulders, down away from the ears. Pull back into the center. Let's go over to the other side. Opening up. Now use your abdominals to pull back to the center. We're now going to keep those arms out at shoulder height. So we're going to keep the back of those shoulders on the floor. The legs come to tabletop. You can always keep one leg on the floor if you want to, and just go over to one side with one leg on the floor, and then switch halfway. We're going to do 4 in each, just do 4, 2 on each side to begin with to warm up. So don't go too far over to your right on your inhale. Now the head doesn't move. We're looking forward towards the knees. On your exhale, use your abdominals to pull back to the center. Don't drop the heels. Yeah, remember there's a coffee table underneath the calves. Now use your abs to pull back to the center and relax the neck and shoulders. Yeah, we're putting it all into the abs. Yeah. The shins are parallel to the floor, the heels aren't dropping. Now pull back in. You don't want to go too far over that the shoulders come off the floor. I want contact, shoulders on the floor all the time. So don't go too far over. If you feel it peeling off, come back to the center. Now, we're going to go over to one side. Now, option 1, just extend one leg for me. Otherwise, we do both legs. Stretch and bend and repeat. 2 more on this side. Now, think about the rib to hip connection on that right side. Inhale, and on your exhale, use the abs to pull the knees back to the center like a drawbridge. Let's go over to the other side. Don't go too far over that the other shoulder comes off the floor. 3. Now, different leg. If you're doing single legs, do a different leg extension on this side. Now, pull back in, left rib to hip. Let's do that one more on each side. So, different leg. If you did a single leg last time, try the different leg this time to extend. Chin to chest slightly here. We're looking at our toes at a distance. Yes, we can just tilt over with the eye gaze. We don't want to move the head or the shoulders, yeah? Let's pull back in. So while we're doing this, you're getting a stretch here, okay? But you're still working those abs. I don't want those shoulders to round off the floor. Keep the chest open. And that's the obliques we're working here, that rib to hip connection on that side. Pull back in with that side, keep the shoulders down. Well done. Now, if you want to, extend the levers and bend. Extend the levers, stretch out the back of those hamstrings and bend. Now you're trying to tuck the tail under slightly here, belly in. Relax the neck and shoulders, keep the chest open. This is quite a strange position to be in, where I'm kind of getting some work in the quads here, and I'm stretching out the opposing muscle group, the hamstrings. And I'm tucking my tail under to get the lower back rounded into the floor. Let's do that one more time. And bring your knees into your chest and put the hands around the shins this time. And let's come into lumbar circle rolls. And we're going to go in another direction. So we're going to come into the single leg stretch, scissor, crisscross. If you haven't done my classes before, just see if you can, I'll give some options, but many of you will know this already. Let's do a little bit of ab here before we finish up onto our fronts. So when you're ready, bring your chin to your chest, your ribs to your hips. Now this is the muscle we're working, the neck flexor, as well as the extensor, but squeeze a piece of fruit gently, okay? Here, don't ever look up because you're going to hurt yourself. You look down, okay? Now we drive the left leg away as we bring the right leg in. Now, the right leg can come right in now. Ankle, out hand on ankle ideally, inner hand on knee. Now keep your sit bones stuck in the floor. We don't want to rock from side to side. Lift a bit higher with the chest, shoulders down, and switch for 10,
and 9 and 8. Look at your knees. Make sure they go slightly outwards from the hip line, not going inwards. 4. Keep the lower back in the floor. And 2 and 1. Extend one leg up to the ceiling. Hands can come further down, elbows wide, shoulders down. Drive those legs away from each other. Switch for 10 and 9 and 8 and 7. Lower back is in the floor. We're creating a U shape with the body now. Belly in, shoulders down, and 1. Place the legs into tabletop, hands behind the head now. Drive one leg away. Don't move this leg. Rotate over with your right waist. Up, 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 and back. Other side. Inhale. The other knee doesn't move. We're lifting both shoulders off the floor. And up, up, up. Do 2 more on each side, lifting up, up, up. And up, up, up. Don't lower the head and shoulders. Just come back to the center. Go over to the side. Come back to the center. I think we've done our 4 on each side now. I think I might have done 1 more. Bring those knees in. Oh, well done. So when you're ready, place the hands underneath your hamstrings. Bring your chin to your chest, your ribs to your hips. And we're going to roll slowly up. Take your time and come up to a seated position. Well done. We're going to end up just by coming into some stretches now. So just take the legs over to your right hand side. Get both sit bones in the floor. So don't worry if you're tilting up on one side. Use a cushion if you need to, but try and lengthen through the spine. Crown of head lifting, belly is pulled in slightly. 5 palm note in the blades. And we're going to elevate your right arm using the lat muscles and the shoulders stay down. We drop the left elbow and we allow ourselves to come up and over. Now it's important that that elbow is going up and backwards if anything, not back as in, but just keep it in line with the rest of the body rather than coming forward. Keep pushing that right bottom cheek down in opposition to the right elbow and allow this head just to drop. Now use your belly to reactivate the spine or to re-stack the spine up. And we place the right hand on the left thigh and we go this way. Now if this is too much, bring the legs out in front of you and just stretch out the sides of the body that way. And now we're going to do 1 more. And this time we're going to lift up the bottom and lift up and over, relax the head, let it drop out. And we can look up at the hand or look forward. I want you to tuck your tailbone underneath your bottom and thrust that right hip forward. Lift up here into your lats and come back down. Okay, and we're just now going to walk our hands over that left knee. Allowing the right bottom cheek to drive back in opposition. And let's slowly come up and let's do the other side. So the legs go over to your left. And you want to try and get both sit bones in the floor. Be aware of how this side feels. Much tighter for me on this side. That right, for me it's my right external rotator. This is now going to be your left and you might find it slightly easier depending on which muscle and which side is stronger or tighter for you. So this time I'm going to elevate the left arm. Keep the shoulders down. And we can take that hand a little bit more forward if you need to, but keep in 2 panes of glass. We're going to let that right knee and elbow bend, so we're not tensing up here. I want you to drop the shoulders and lift that elbow up and back, keeping that left bottom cheek on the floor as much as you can. Now slowly restack, the shoulders stay down, and we push down the left hand onto the right knee. That might be kicking up, it might not. Feel the stretch down the sides, relax the neck and shoulders. And come back. Now let's lift ourselves up and over. And we're tucking the tail under to get the stretch in that left hip flexor. The shoulders are away from the ears and we're lifting up with our lat muscles. So the back of the neck is long. And come back down. And now let's walk the hands out over that right knee, allowing the head and the body just to relax. And let's come back to the center. Bring those legs in. Now, if you're used to crossing legs one way, just try the other way. Just try the other way. Bring the legs more forward if your knees are high. Yeah, and just be aware here of just holding that 5-pound note in the blades. The elbows can come into the rib cage, open the chest, and you'll automatically feel the upper back muscles working. The rear deltoids, the rhomboids, but not the traps. So shoulders down, 5-pound note in those blades, and a soft V with those blades. The belt is around the waist as we breathe into the rib cage. The chin is, the book is pushing back into the bookcase. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. Okay, any questions, do let me know. Okay, good to see you again, and I hope to see you again soon. Keep in touch. Bye-bye.